Well, what I was shown, where all that was going on, and I was raging and raging, is I started hearing this like, it was kind of like a Greek chorus or something in the background. They were just repeating something over and over again, and finally I was able to tune into it. What are they saying anyway? And you know what they were saying? They were saying it'll never serve you or life or light or love to see this in terms of men versus women. And my first response was, oh, you know, who's doing the trying? Who's doing the torturing? And so my flame just went for a little while. And then I came back to saying, you know what? That voice that said that to you, that voice never lies to you. It never lies to you. So you need to calm down, girl, and get your humility going. And they're trying to show you something. What are they trying to show you? And so what they showed me, the first place that I could open to was there were men who were desperate to protect their women. Of course they were. These were their sisters, their mothers, their friends, their grandmothers, their daughters. Of course they were. Some of the core characteristic of the sacred masculine is that they are protectors of life. They protect the life bringer and the children and the elders. And they are willing to make that the ultimate sacrifice, we say sometimes. So they're protectors, they're providers also. Because when I'm in that state over here, like these women are, and I'm dreaming for the people, I got no linear, nothing going on up here. And I'm not very capable, and I flat out honestly need a protector. When I'm pregnant, I need a protector. Now I'm going through the life change in which they're telling me, you are in labor again. This time you're going to birth yourself as the fruitful woman. I need a protector when I'm going through that. So if that's the key characteristic of sacred masculine, then at that time we can say that those men were violating sacred masculine. But here's what we might not see immediately, I certainly didn't, is when a man cannot enact those sacred principles of the masculine, they get wounded. And we know that in Indigenous community. There was no way for our men to stop that onslaught that came, not entirely. We did everything we could, but there were defeats. And in African American community, they're studying this also. What happens to their men when they couldn't stop that slavery? And so a couple scenarios that play out for the men in that situation was oftentimes they might become a perpetrator of violence themselves. But the other thing that might happen, and I keep trying to find another word for this, but I'm going to use it here, is they become impotent. Not necessarily sexually, but in terms of their ability to drive forward the visions. I call them sometimes the sacred architects of the visions of the women. But to have that linear, to move things forward, to take that action, right? So they can lose that ability. And that's why people say sometimes, those African-American men, they're just lazy. All they do is lay around. And they say the same sometimes about our men. Well, it destroys a man when they can't uphold that pact with life. But they were fighting that battle. So I had this funny feeling come over me, and I was able to say it in Europe, and I was able to say, you know what? Every blow that you took might have been one less that we had to take. And so for that, I give thanks. Thank you for your fight, because they have not done away with us. And we are here to uphold that law, that sacred truth. So I feel gratitude that way. So I see these men and what they went through in Europe. And what I realized, I thought, why do they call this an archetypal wounding of humanity? This wasn't the beginning of the persecution of the feminine and the women. Not by a long shot, right? But what happened was those methodologies that they developed during the witch hunts, and they developed some doozies, didn't they? Then they put them on those ships, and then they came for us. And so in that vision, when I saw those soldiers ride down, the thing that freaked me out the most was the look in those guys' eyes. They were blank. And he says, what is with these? They're like insects. Like, they don't even know us. I never even met them before, and they can do this, you know? And I just never forgot that feeling of how blank they were. And then when this happened, I realized these were the sons and grandsons of the men who could not protect their women in Europe. And they sent them out on the ships to encounter indigenous peoples on every part of the earth. And this hit the whole Mother Earth almost all at the same time. In a very short period of time, this happened, right? I'm going to finish this way. I had a chance to spend about 5 days with some of the Kogi elders from the Sierra Nevadas in Colombia. They came to the Four Corners area. And you know, they said, so they call themselves the heart of the world. And they said, you know, for this to be going on in the world everywhere, like, they're some of the least colonized people on the planet, right? They're some of the, I mean, they've had almost no contact with outside world. They manage that. And so I have a lot of respect for them. But they said, you know, in order for this to be happening in the world, it had to have started in the heart with us. How's that for humility? I love that about them. And they said, so we need to go and find out why. So they went into their divination processes. Their holy people are known from birth, and they spend the first 9 to 20 years of their life in these caves. I don't know if they never come out or only occasionally or what, but that's primarily where they are. And so they're deep listeners of this Mother Earth, and that's another reason why I really respect them. But they said when they came out, and after they had asked, what did we do? They said, we allowed the masculine to overpower the feminine. These are some of the least colonized people on the planet. And even there it is, right? So what they said to us over and over again, they said the women are going to lead in a power over paradigm. That sounds threatening, but we have other paradigms. I was told, you think you know what masculine is, you think you know what feminine is, but you don't. All you know is how the masculine medicine and the feminine medicine behaves in a power over paradigm. But if you put those same medicines in a different paradigm, they behave completely differently. So we can't lose sight of that. This patriarchy isn't about men. It's about power over paradigm. It's about the paradigm. So they said the women are going to lead. And they also said their final words to this whole group after 5 days. They said, to the women we say, you must move and speak and act with the authority of the mother. The mother. So this is what I call myself. I call myself Holy Earth Surface Walker, Life Bringer, Life Bearer. And in every circumstance, I have the authority to speak on behalf of life. I have the authority to ask, as we are making decisions, as we are making community, are we placing life at the center? That is not only my authority, that's my job. And nobody can give me that authority, and nobody can take that authority away from me. It is inherent in me as life bringer. But I can leave it unattended on the table. And I intend not to do that. So, my relatives, I just say thank you so much for allowing me this opportunity to share this work. I feel so kindred to Winona, right? She says, sometimes you can't go with their system. Sometimes you just got to do it. And so for me right now, my loyalty is to life, period. My loyalty is to life. I say we are a traumatized species, and it's multi-generational. I cannot always look around me to the other humans to see what they're doing. because they're still working out trauma. I'm still working out trauma. But I can be this vehicle to listen to spirit. And I believe the women, it's not to say that men can't do that, but I believe women are biologically designed to receive that medicine on behalf of the community. So that's what I intend to do. And I just really pray for this nation. I pray for this movement of the women in water. I pray for the courage to come to the end of our own knowing and resource and surrender and open. To not crumble in fear or go hide, but to open and say, okay, Spirit, I'm done. Now you. And to see what is possible then. So, itakuye bayasan. Hojarana hasli, hojarana hasli, hojarana hasli, hojarana hasli.